you are the principal author of this document. Tell us a little about that and how it came about.
Well, as my source, I had the Virginia Constitution's preamble, of course. And I guess you could say John Locke was my beacon. I just love books, so I drew from all the knowledge of those ancient philosophers and men of wisdom that I admire. Plato, Socrates, Voltaire, Newton, Bacon, Hume, Rousseau, there's just so many. And then, of course, we had the committee doing the vivisection of my work, taking out that anti-slavery statement that I had in there.
That was Georgia and South Carolina. They objected to it. I would have not objected to a condemnation of the slave trade, but the principles were based on the idea of natural laws, that the same laws that exist in nature exist between human beings and their governments. I mean, after all, it was Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton that proved that the Earth revolved around the sun, not that the Earth was the center of our universe. The same concept exists between human beings and their governments. Many governments were monarchies in our time, where the king ruled by divine right, that we the people were their subjects. But the reason we organize governments is to protect our rights and our property, and that when governments no longer protect our rights and our property, then we have a right to change it by every means necessary.
Indeed, a duty to change it.
Yes, we did.
Absolutely, to protect our inalienable rights that were given to us by our Creator.
Now, Mr. Franklin, you were a printer.
Right.
And you probably could have had a lot of business for yourself by printing the Crown's work, but instead you printed these inflammatory materials that have stirred up a rebellion now. Why did you do such a thing?
It was a slow day, but in actuality, let us say it was an inevitable clash that you could not proceed on. It was inevitable that we would come to a parting of the ways, as we explained in our play. Because of the widening of the great vastness of the country, many of us felt that we could make our own way without the help of the Mother England.
Now, normally, two people operate a printing press. One person does the inking, the other one's supposed to keep his hands clean and work with the paper. And that's how you keep the speed of the press up to about 80, maybe up to 100 copies an hour.
Now, who uses the ink thing?
Now, the ink pads are what they would normally be working with. And you'd have two of these, they call them actually ink balls. On the ink balls, you rub the ink into the leather, then you pound the ink onto the type. They used these from the days of Gutenberg 1450 up to about 1820, and that's when they invented the roller, which makes my life much easier. I'm going to roll this in underneath the platen. Now we're going to apply the pressure. He's going to be tightening the screw. Walk around. That's actually called the devil's tail. The shape of the devil's tail. Now, two hands on this side, squeeze it in. I like the artistic thing. There you go. Bring her back. All the way. Good job. That's before John Hancock put his famous signature on. It was printed. You're welcome.
And that type is set letter by letter.
It was originally set letter by letter from the cases, and that's why it took, I mean, it's amazing to think that they made the decision on the 3rd and had the printed document by the next day. Kinko's doesn't even go that fast sometimes. So one letter at a time, letter by letter, word by word, line by line.
Are there any mistakes in it? Are there any?
No.
Is it really? It was well printed.
Yeah. So then they took that document and they wanted to get it printed overnight. They had to get it printed immediately. The one that you guys see, the Declaration of Independence, isn't really the original. The one that's at the National Archives. It's beautifully written on parchment and all. That's not really the original. The first one is printed. When it printed John Hancock's signature. Not his signature, but his name on it. Because they didn't have time they needed to get copies sent out to declare the independence. So whatever one came out of committee, they then must have taken one and broken it up into copy that 6 to 10 people could take the letters out. As one person, this would take you all week to put together.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So how do you get this done in the course of an evening? You break up the text. So a printer probably destroyed the original, because who needs that? So they cut it all up and send it around, and then they print it, and then they engross it, which is the beautiful writing, and then John Hancock puts his beautiful signature in there. So it was first printed that night of the 3rd, ready for the 4th.
Did Jefferson write it? Do we know that? Or?
Yes.
He did.
Jefferson wrote most of the document, and then the Committee of 5, Franklin and others, and Franklin especially had to change, 1 or 2 words to say that he had a little part in it as well. Made those changes, and then they had the final document.
So the real declaration is it's got edited. It's got the insert here and go to A here.
There is, that copy is there.
There is.
But what went to the printer probably was not that copy. Maybe it was, but... Are you ready? Come on over. Get you started over there. 2 arms, push. Keep going. Good job. You get to pick that up. Just be careful with the black ink there. Go, lift up the paper. Nice and big. Keep going.
Excellent.
Very good. Make sure that gets in your bag.
Yep.
They have some bags up at the front there.
Yep.
Tell us a little about that font.
Well, the typeface here, of course, when you print a document, you have to, you're welcome, thank you for coming. Whenever you print a document, the font that you choose is very important because it gives flavor to the piece and helps you communicate to the recipient of that document. So John Dunlap, the printer of the Declaration of Independence, thought through the few typefaces he had, and the choice was actually very logical. Let us use a face that the King of England, King George, would recognize, and that would be Caslon. And Caslon was the English typeface. The English came up with it, William Caslon, in the early 18th century. And Caslon, when he invented that and designed his typeface, which is still found on your computers today, it was the one that now finally England had their own typeface that they could use instead of using the French faces and the Dutch faces and everything else, or German. Now they have their own beautiful face, and it was Caslon. So they took a lot of pride in that face. And the king, every book he read probably was in Caslon. So why not put the Declaration of Independence in a face that could tell the king, read our Declaration of Independence in a face that you could recognize.
The 3rd oldest press in the country, you said?
3rd oldest American-made printing press. Adam Ramage was the one who made it. He's a Scotsman. We didn't really make the things for ourselves unless we had to, up until the Revolution. And sort of the Revolution by the fact that all the trade was cut off from England as a consequence of things, we really had to start making things for ourselves. And then we really got into it. And then it was really Yankee ingenuity. The height of Yankee ingenuity was actually to take an English machine, make it ourselves, steal their patents, and sell it back to them. That worked out really well.